Well, you're all very welcome. Another episode of Employee 360 with Mark Corkery and sponsored by Premier Life. Mark, we've got a great panel with us again today, and we've got some very, very interesting topics ahead. Let me introduce without further ado just the panel that we do have. So FrancescaBartoloni, she's the head of people and culture at Accounts IQ.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Francesca. We've got Fiona Flynn. She's founder and director of Montauk Consulting. Hi, Fiona.
Good morning. How are you?
We've got Clarke, who's founding member and managing director at I Am Here. Hi, Carole.
Hi there. How are you?
And Nicole OBrien. She's chief people officer at the Project Foundry. Hi, Nicole.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
So you're all very welcome. And let me turn first to you, Mark. As always, we pick a different theme or topic that you want to talk about every week. And in the last 3 episodes, we looked at the difference it makes to employees to work in a safe environment where they feel secure and have a clear path to achieve their goals. What else can you do for employees?
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the podcast. Brendan, from my experience, once you've created a safe and secure environment where your team can individually, say, achieve their goals, one of the best ways I see to improve well-being is to create a culture of community and engagement. So having created, say, an environment where individuals can grow, you can now create an environment where everybody helps each other grow. And I suppose I think of a great quote from Helen Keller, which was, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." So for me, based on this quote, I think if you have a culture of community engagement, you multiply the possibilities of growth for the community.
Okay, so a culture of community and engagement is key and important there. Definitely. And your own specific work, Mark, you help employees with their financial wellness, which is only one aspect of what everybody else here on the panel will be telling us about the other aspects. But it just struck me in a way, are employees good at sharing thoughts on money, and how does that happen?
Well, yeah, I suppose in general, look, we all have beliefs about our money based on our own life experiences to date. And I suppose in general, we've generally developed our beliefs from a small community of people, and which are usually, say, our parents or family. And these beliefs, unfortunately, are probably skewed by personal biases. So in general, employees don't like to discuss their finances in case they're judged to have made the wrong decisions. So we all kind of look at social media to kind of maybe to help us and to look at other ways people are doing things. But I think we have to be careful of this to be aware of the people's motives on social media. So what I think we need is to find better ways for employees to join the community with a common interest, to feel secure, to listen, learn, and contribute.
Okay, great. And let's talk about the first thing that we need to focus on then, engagement in the community. You've mentioned that, but what do we need to talk about here?
Okay, so look, my theme for the podcast today is, what do you do to help your employees create an engaging community? So for me, in financial coaching, I call this engaging with your money. And engaging with your money is all about listening in the community and feeling comfortable to contribute. So to help employees engage with the money, I do what I call a 21-day financial summit challenge. And this challenge helps employees work in the community over 21 days to get a clear handle on their current and financial future plans. So while also benefiting, say, from the knowledge and support of the community. So what I'd love to hear today is, how do you help your employees create an engaging community?
Okay. That's great. Well, let's turn to our panelists, and let me go first to you, Fiona Flynn of Montauk Consulting. Tell us about Montauk Consulting and tell us about Fiona Flynn first of all.
Yeah, lovely to meet everyone today. I'm so looking forward to hearing everyone's story and everyone's input. And then in fact, today we've probably created a community of different people coming together with shared interests. So I am very much looking forward to that. So Montauk is a leadership development company. It was founded after I had spent several years in the corporate world. I had spent many years in EircomNet, which was a wonderful community, very topical for today, where we were the internet arm of Eircom. from, and we started from effectively, you know, a small team that grew out to be the largest ISP. So we grew over those years, an awful lot of change. We were bought and sold several times. So as head of sales during my time there, as well as obviously having a passion for driving growth and sales numbers, I also had a passion for people. So where people were coming into the team, it may have been their first job, we had to build out teams, and that whole sense of talent and nurturing talent in order to deliver on our goals. So I've probably always held that belief that business results, growth needs to come from people as well as the technology. And over the last number of years, I have probably developed that passion into, you know, leadership development, supporting leaders, creating thriving climates to allow people to shine in the world of work, and also to work with different diverse groups to help them be more confident and shine in work. So for example, maybe, you know, female talent or people returning from maternity leave who may feel isolated. And as we talk about community today, and you know, that sense of shared connections, that sense of people feeling belonging. And I think during COVID, that's been probably the biggest challenge. You know, during, you know, my entire week listening to people are feeling isolated, they may ebb and flow in terms of emotions and challenges at different times. So the onus is on all of us, not just leadership, but the onus is on all of us to support each other. And as you say, Mark, you know, to be listening, and just to be aware. Like, we get caught up in the tasks of what we have to do each day. We forget we're human beings. And how are we being each day? You know, how are we looking out for each other? How are we spotting people that maybe are feeling isolated? How do our behaviors create a sense of belonging and enabling people to thrive? So a lot of my work is, as I said, supporting leaders creating that and making it sustainable, and also for individuals feel that and you know, how can they improve their chances of belonging, and that, because, you know, back to your quote there, Mark, and there's another one I had heard before, an Indian proverb: if we want to go fast, go alone. If we want to go far, go together. So I think that essence of how do we constantly work together as humans and connect as humans on a day-to-day basis will help our sustainability moving forward.
I love that quote. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Francesca Bartolone, let's have a chat with you for a second now. Head of People and Culture at Accounts IQ. I'd love to hear about Accounts IQ and Francesca and your own journey and philosophy here.
Yeah, Accounts IQ is an accounting software. So we are in the market since 2008. So we are an IT company. So the Accounts IQ, it's relatively small. We have at the moment 55 employees, but what has been our strength. We have a lot of nationality working in the company, so we have a diverse and inclusive culture in Accounts IQ, and it's kind of unique as a company, because I worked I'm in HR since I think I started in 2008 as well, so it's a really long time. But Accounts IQ, I can see the difference. It's a really inclusive place to work, where people are valued for what they think. We promote bold ideas, and this was it's the unique part of the company, because this is our culture. It's not something that we created there, but it's already there. The culture of inclusiveness, of community, because what we do, we listen to people, we listen to employees, what they have to say, how we can do it better together. So, and of course, there is, because we are relatively small, there is this sense of family. So we are all together, we have the same objective here. We are acting as a small family, big family, all together to be better. So I'm passionate of culture and of course people. What is my main objective in my career is to maintain this kind of culture of community, of working all together, and keep that sense, because we know, like, if we have happier employees, they will stay in the company, they will perform even better. So we will get much better quality of work from employees if they are happy in the company. So for me, it's like the main objective is to keep that, what we have in Accounts IQ, the sense of belonging, the sense of being part of the community, especially because we are, as a company, we are going through a massive growth. So massive growth means massive changes in the company. So for me, it's important. Key part of my job is to keep this culture, nice culture of a sense of community and belonging, and keep that while we are growing.
Okay.
So,
no, and that's a big challenge, and it's an interesting one for everyone, I think. Yes. Yeah. Carole and Clarke, you're the founding member and managing director of I Am Here. Just your journey so far.
Yeah, so hello everybody, and it is lovely to be here today. So many women, woohoo! Well done, ladies. I have to get that in, obviously, so because I have a big sporting background, so I've spent many years fighting for our place in the world of women's rugby. So it is lovely to join panels that have a strong female presence. So thank you for that.
But not to mention a strong male presence here. Because
well, of course, that goes without saying. Behind every great woman is a great man. Yeah, so I suppose my journey is I've a 20-year corporate background, working for the likes of Diageo, Coca-Cola, big advertising agencies, and I suppose, if I'm honest, I always found the corporate world quite uncomfortable, in that very much at odds with my own value system, particularly around people. I think in the last 30 years, you know, the old stock exchange has driven shareholder value at the expense of people that have delivered that value, and to the point where people have been mismanaged when they weren't feeling okay due to work pressures, life. And I really wanted to change that. And I wasn't particularly well myself, leaving the corporate world in 2015. So I spent a lot of time studying, reflecting. I did executive and leadership coaching, resilience coaching, mental health and wellbeing coaching, corporate wellbeing coaching. So always studying. And whilst I really enjoyed the one-to-one coaching, which I still do, I really felt that I wasn't going to change the dial in workplace culture. And I really, really wanted to do that when it came to people, particularly in the area of well-being, because I fundamentally believe, as a just capitalist, that if you look after your people, the profits will look after themselves. So I joined up with Jim Breen, who had set up Cycle Against Suicide. So I'm here as part of Pulse Learning, which is a top 10 e-learning company. We created I Am Here. He had started already with a client in Australia. And I guess my skill set of activation, digital, experiential, working on campaigns like the Olympics in 2012 was a beautiful match with kind of the e-learning, where we could bring 360 programs to clients. So really what I Am Here is all about is about evolving workplace culture and mental health and well-being. So we work in partnership with companies for a minimum of 3 years, because every client we work with understands that this is a journey. Mental health and well-being isn't a one-off journey. It is a long-term commitment to people's mental health and well-being. So what we do is we drive help seeking and help offering behaviors, but by instilling the belief that it's okay not to feel okay, and it's absolutely okay to ask for help. So essentially all our work is around support and engagement, and really instilling that belief and changing those behaviors over time. So we work on a maturation model, from kind of that awareness to that systemic change into culture flow. So that's really what I'm here and what I'm all about. So all about people and well-being.
I like it. And Nicole O'Brien, you're the Chief People Officer at the Project Foundry. Just your own background and the Project Foundry.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely to meet everyone, and thanks for having me as part of the panel today as well. It is great. It's actually something that I'm super passionate about. So I really like talking about the employee engagement piece. The Project Foundry, so we're a professional services company and we specialize in basically everything that falls into the project ecosystem. So project management as a service, program management as a service. We have a cloud technology practice and we also have a change and transformation practice. So you can imagine we're professional services. So the majority of the work we do is client facing. So we are a scaling business. We were established in 2015 and we've been continuously scaling ever since. So our mix is, we have a big contingent workforce as well as our permanent team, and they're globally dispersed and the majority of them are client facing. So that means that my focus from a HR and a people perspective really had to be around culture and the touch points with our team so that they really feel like they're part of the Project Foundry. Because there's a risk when, especially when you've got contingent workforce globally dispersed, they're just talking to clients and they're not talking to us on a day-to-day basis. So that's what we've really focused on, is really bringing them into, you know, the Project Foundry community and really creating those touch points across the team. So they have purpose, they have meaning, they know where their support, rather than just somebody who's out on a client site and left to kind of deal with clients themselves. And that's been even more difficult, obviously, throughout COVID. But I think we've maintained it really, really well. And it doesn't have to be that you increase your communication with them on a continuous basis. It's just all of the touch points, right from onboarding through to offboarding even. As people who, especially when you've got contingent workforces, they return and you want them to be part of that community, whether they're actually doing stuff with you at a particular moment in time or they're part of your wider community and they want to come back to you. And that's been a big focus for us. Culture was something that, you know, I think from my perspective, I came from a long history in retail sales into commercial and operations management before I moved into kind of HR and talent management. And it was a passion of mine, I suppose, is how people are treated on a day-to-day basis, but how they're involved in the development of culture. So most people will have worked in a company where they were told what the culture was, but they may not have been part of defining what the culture is. And that was something that was really important to us. We brought our whole team together to talk about how they actually lived on a day-to-day basis, how they worked with us, what they did, what they were proud of. And that's how we established what our culture is. And we go through continuous phases of that and we bring them on the journey with us. So it's not something that we tell them they have to do. They're part of it, they're living it, they want to be part of it, and they defined it themselves. So I think it starts, like, culture is the center of employee engagement. And if they really believe in it, then I think your engagement levels will go up automatically and everything else can fall outside of that.
Okay, very good, very good. Mark, can I bring you back into the equation here? We've heard from all four panelists, four strong female panelists, as Caroline has pointed out, but your thoughts and impressions just after hearing those initial comments.
Yeah, so some great thoughts and ideas there, and I'm just looking back over a few of them, looking at Fiona's comment there about passion for people. Again, I think we've heard the word passion so many times over the years, and it's actually translating that into something that actually happens. And I love your quote, Fiona, of go fast, go low, and go far, go together. You know, and again, that sums up the power of community. And I'm looking at what Francesca was talking about a company that's relatively small now, but growing dynamically, and the challenges of change, growth, and keeping that culture together. It's again, it's about being, I suppose, involved with the people and listening to them at the community level. And talking to Caroline, one thing I love there was she was talking about being coach. And I think, in fairness to you, Caroline, you've probably nearly every coaching qualification there from what you were telling me. Coaching is one-to-one, and it's great on a one-to-one basis, but it's great to try and be able to create a community where we can help so many people at the same time with the benefits of the knowledge of many within that community. And I think that's the advantage of creating that community effort to help people, whereas coaching is fantastic on a one-to-one, but only one person gains at that each time. And when Nicole was talking about the development of culture, you know, again, I was looking at something recently, and I think, you know, a lot of, especially smaller companies that are probably built by the owners, you know, culture comes from it. This is what I say, and this is what it is. Whereas I think maybe culture should come from the bottom up as opposed to the top down, you know. And I think then also it's so important for the team to actually understand and live that culture as well. Like, so look, there were fantastic points there. And again, I again learned so much from those ideas. Great.
And can I just pick up from maybe a question to throw out to everybody, and whoever wants to answer it, just to fire away on that. The particular theme is creating that community for people to engage with. Is it difficult nowadays with what's happened over the last year and a half or so? Is it more difficult to create a community with remote workers? And let me maybe go to Francesca first on that.
That I was saying yes. It's our nightmare now, HR nightmare, keep that culture, because we are, I think I have the same, let's say the same challenge of Nicole. AccountSECU is, the presence is in UK and Ireland. We do work remote now since 2020. So it's becoming a nightmare to keep employees engaged in front of a screen, because this is what they are seeing every day, a screen. So every time it's like, you know, like as HR, you try to organize activities, online activities with COVID, all kind of desperate activities. And then you stop and you ask them, so like, are you enjoying that? And you receive back, no, it's another hour in front of the screen. So I stop back and say, okay, I think I'm doing something wrong here. So like, I'm asking them to stay in front of a monitor in their free time. So let's start investing their time in a different way. So let's start listen to them. What you want to do? How do you want to interact with people? What you are missing with people. So it's like, it's like listen to them, trying to keep and find a balance between the online version of everything and this human interaction that is missing, create something similar with a screen. So yes, it's a nightmare.
I imagine it is. And you mentioned Nicole there, so let's go to Nicole. How do you guys manage it?
Yeah, like it honestly, it's similar to Francesca. It's very difficult when, you know, people are in front of a screen all day essentially. But we did put in place, so we do a monthly call where our entire team, it's in their diary, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow's will be Christmas themed. And there is a bit of cheese involved in some of them, but rather than having prescribed fun, I suppose, that didn't go down too well. You know, people don't want to do escape rooms every time there's something engagement going on. So we actually just have what we call a digital community clinic. We give everyone a bit of an overview of what's going on in the company, because people want that. They might not have had an overview at all because they might be out on client site. And sometimes we'll have somebody on to speak about something that might be a topic of interest. We always throw out options beforehand so everyone can vote on them. It is a completely optional call. People dial in purely because they want to themselves, and that's based on their own availability. If you've got a meeting in, you don't have to come to this one. And we then just have a general conversation, coffee morning, chit chat, what's going on in people's lives. People give top tips. And although that's quite loose, it's worked really well. We get really, really good numbers dialing into that on a monthly basis, because people just want a level of interaction that's not forced. There's a bit of an overview, everyone brings a coffee, we have a bit of a laugh on the call, and it's very fluid. Some people talk more than others, some people are happy to listen, and they've given that feedback as well. So that's something that we've continued on. For our permanent team, we've adopted a new system that we've just been launching over the last while, and it's a bit of a more, I suppose, it's focused on performance and goal setting, etc. But the reason we chose this rather than the traditional HR system is because it also has areas where you can just drop notes for people to have some praise and feedback. You can collaborate within it, and you can also put up all your interests, whether they're business, professional, or just your personal interests. And you can connect with like-minded people across the company. in those areas as well. So it's just trying to adopt a couple of different tools that will allow people to interact in a little bit of a different way, and keeping it as optional for those people who really do want to interact. And then as soon as I'm allowed to do anything in person, I will definitely try and get them back together. We had a Christmas party organised. We had to cancel it, unfortunately, but we'll continue to try to get people face to face wherever we can. And that can be in different countries as well. If we have cohorts in different countries, they can also, like, we'll support them, you know, coming together for lunches, etc. So they do have that face-to-face interaction. And that's how we generally try and drive the community feel at the moment.
Okay, okay. Caroline, you mentioned that when you sort of left the corporate stuffiness, if you like, in 2015, there was something with your own value system that you felt was not aligned, or that the corporate world didn't align to, which I think is very interesting. And maybe I'll look for Fiona's opinion on this as well, but Mark won't ask these questions because it's his expertise area, but I'm always fascinated by Mark's area with financial wellness, because I can see that financial issues cause such a huge stress on people all the time. But from your experience in the corporate world, did you find anything there that people actually were beginning to include people more in maybe financial coaching or information or anything like that? And Fiona, I'll open that to you as well.
No. No, I didn't. And actually it was very interesting, because when I was doing the mental health and well-being coaching, the reason why I did it was when I'd started to do executive and leadership coaching, and I think Fiona can definitely relate to this. People were coming to me with very complex issues, and emotionally I was finding it quite difficult. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do the mental health and well-being coaching, because you can't cut off one part of your life and just talk about the other, because everything's intertwined. What impacts you at home can impact you in work. What impacts you in work can impact you at home. But what I loved about it was that there was a few financial consultants doing the coaching with me. And I just thought, wow, that is so powerful, because it's not just about the budget planning and the pension planning and the investment planning and living your best life with your means. It's also, how can I help this person emotionally through the journey of their financial well-being? And I just thought that was just genius for anybody to do. Mm-hmm. I think when it came to help and support in general, when it came to the workplace, is we know that 70% of people, for example, who aren't feeling okay, do not ask for help, and particularly in the workplace. And when it comes to mental health and well-being, help and support is only about 1 to 4%. So there's lots of different reasons, but one of them is that people aren't even aware of what's available in their company. So I know when somebody reached out to me to show they care when I wasn't feeling okay, I didn't even know what existed in the company. So with our work, what we do we give people courage, confidence, and skills to show you care. On the other side, we're consistently shining a light on all the help and support across all well-being pillars, regardless of your stage of life, in order for people to get help early. Because what happens is most companies end up in crisis point because they haven't dealt with the early intervention and the prevention piece and driving those particular behaviors. So I think, to long-winded way of saying no, but that's not that the help wasn't there. I think A, it wasn't signposted enough, and B, it wasn't evolved enough in terms of thinking, that it was very much focused on the work needs rather than the person as a whole and who they are and what they actually need.
Okay, great. Fiona, the same question for yourself. Oh, sorry, Fiona, you're still on mute there. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, diving in. Yeah, no, that whole area is very interesting. What's resonating for me as you're talking there, Carole, is this sense of, probably from a financial point of view, they're not conversations we really have in the corporate world. It's just not talked about. The other thing, definitely, as I moved on in my career, that sense, and what I'm seeing with others, that sense of what's our definition of success? And sometimes our definition of success is we need to keep moving up the corporate ladder. We keep needing to get that promotion, that bigger salary. But when you start looking at the broader aspect of life and success, you know, and you're seeing elements of this where we want it all, you know, particularly if there's families, there's young children, and we want the perfect career, you know, the perfect partner, the perfect family, the perfect house. But that potentially can bring this sense of immense emotional trauma and pressure. And I think the one thing that COVID has probably taught us is each of us is of individuals, and it's not like our family, our individual and family success may be that we go to a certain level in our careers, or we may go maybe part-time, and we give ourselves that space, and maybe in our spare time we have a passion that we have for something. I was speaking to a lady yesterday who was on a very high-end career ladder in professional service, at the top of her game in the legal profession. Circumstances, you know, changed, there was some family trauma she had to deal with, and it really made her realize that this was not successful for her. It was impacting on her health and well-being. She now has a career in the legal profession 4 days a week in a role that's very manageable, that she thrives in, and she became an author. So in that one day, she has now become a published author, and that really allowed her to realize that her health and well-being and success became more holistic. Yes, she has enough financially to tick that box and her pension and the sustainability, but she's not purely on that career ladder going one way with everything else losing out. And I thought that was a really interesting concept, and probably will stimulate conversations going forward, is what is that success, but having the balance, you know, having the financial piece where we have enough, but our health and well-being. And back to your point earlier, Francesca, if people are healthy and happy, they will give more. So we can't have everyone always wanting to move ahead and climb. So how do we keep that balance, that people have their health and well-being and you know, their financial success? So I just think now things may change a little bit, and maybe people will talk and make those decisions a lot more following COVID. That would be interesting to see what people's lifestyle changes and work changes will be following COVID to get that balance.
Right. Some great interaction there, Mark. Just to sum up as we come up to the end of the podcast, Mark, can you thread everything together for us?
Yeah, and look, I'm going to try and steer away from a financial aspect, but even just talking about all these things, nothing is in isolation. So when you talk about whether it's finances or you talk about health or anything, you have to ask the questions about all the different areas of other people's lives. And I even find when I deal with my financial planning clients, the first thing I ask them is, what do they want the money for? What are they trying to do? It's not how much money you need. So in anything, I think somebody mentioned there about awareness of, Caroline was saying people weren't aware of what was available. First of all, I think everybody needs to be aware of what's available and aware of their own particular circumstances. We're all guilty of not understanding where we are in relation to our health, our wellness, our mental health, our financial health. If we can get an awareness of where we're at, then we can possibly go out and ask somebody to help us within a community or individually as a coach. So I think the community might throw out the ideas to people that they can, I always like for people to be able to sit back in the background and watch and see what's happening, then maybe get the confidence to ask a question or to go back then afterwards and talk to somebody directly and say, look, I became aware that that's me. I need that help or that intervention. I saw it in the community. Who can I talk to? So that very awareness gets you to move to the next step, which is, you know, taking and getting help. So I think like what Caroline mentioned there about helping one person at a time as a coach, I think that if you can create communities, you can, again, multiply that effect.
Brilliant. Well, I think with that, it's a good note to bring a very interesting podcast to a close. I want to thank everybody for attending. Francesca Bartoloni, Head of People and Culture at Accounts IQ. Thank you very much. Fiona Flynn, the founder and director of Montauk Consulting. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you very much.
Carole and Clarke, founding member and MD at I Am Here.
Thank you.
And Nicole OBrien, Chief People Officer at the Project Foundry. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you.
And of course, as always, Mark Corkery of Premier Life. Thank you, Mark. And until next time, talk to you all again.